Okay, today we are going to go through the first holiday assignment for May holiday. You're supposed to submit by Monday, which is today. Okay, so I'm going to upload the answers in the Google Classroom for you to check. Okay, first question A, you have a pair of simultaneous equation and you want to solve it. Okay, for simultaneous equation, there are two ways to do. One is by substitution, one is by elimination. For this question, I will try to solve by substitution. Why is it that I want to solve by substitution? You can see that actually one of the equation can be written in terms of y. So first equation I can write it in terms of y, then I will straight away do substitution, put it into the second equation. Okay, so from equation 1, I write y equals to 2x minus 9. I call this equation 1a, which is because it's from equation 1. So I'm going to substitute 1a into equation 2. So I'll have 3x minus 7 times y, okay, equals to 19. So 3x minus 14x plus 63 equals to 19. So I have negative 11x. So I add 11x to both sides. So my 11x becomes positive. And then I'm getting 63 minus 19, which is 44. So x, by dividing both sides by 11, I get x equals to 4. So when I know my x value is 4, so I will substitute into equation 1a. So my y value will be 2 times 4 minus 9. And so the answer is negative 1. So I'll have x is 4, y is negative 1. And this is my solution. Okay. 1b, the graph given, something like this. And then you want to find out what is the gradient, what's the y-intercept, and then followed by finding the equation of the graph. Okay, so to find equation, we need gradient, y-intercept. Okay, how do we determine the gradient? The line slant this way, so the gradient is positive. And I'm going to take the vertical length. You see this triangle here? I'm taking the vertical length, divide by the horizontal length. The vertical length is 2, the horizontal length is 3 units, so the gradient is 2 over 3. And what is the y-intercept? The place where it cuts the y-axis. So the y-intercept is at 2. So therefore, the equation of line will be y is mx plus c. So m is 2/3 x plus c, which is 2, which is the y-intercept. So this is the equation of the straight line. Now, second graph here, it slants this way. So the gradient is a negative number. I'm still doing the same thing. I use a triangle here and find out what is the vertical length, what is the horizontal length, but my gradient is going to be negative number. Okay, I'm not looking for the x or y value intercept or whatever. I'm looking for the lengths. I use the lengths to compare. So this part here, the length is 2. This part here, the length is also 2. So 2 over 2. So therefore, my gradient is negative 1. And then what is the y-intercept? You can see that it intercepts the y-axis at negative 2. So the y-intercept is negative 2. And so the equation of the straight line will be y is equals to negative x minus 2. So equation of line is y equals to negative x minus 2. Clear? So this is how you do the quite straightforward kind of question. First, determine gradient, then the y-intercept, then put them together to form the equation. Okay, 2a, solve equation. One fraction, two fraction, and the other side, no fraction. The denominator x and x minus 3, so the common denominator is x times x minus 3. So I'm going to multiply both left-hand side and right-hand side by x times x minus 3. So on the right-hand side, it is x times x minus 3. Okay? And then from the left-hand side, you see I have two terms. So when I times x and x minus 3 into the first fraction here, I'm getting x times x minus 1. And then the second term here, I multiply x times x minus 3 to it. So I'm having 3 times x minus 3. So equals to 0. So you can see that within one step, we are able to change everything into a quadratic equation. Okay, so we're going to expand it out and simplify. So x squared minus x minus 3x plus 9 equals to x squared minus 3x. Can you see that the x squared and the other side also have x squared? Then the minus 3x, here also minus 3. So when you add 3x to both sides, these two terms are gone. When you subtract x squared from both sides, the x squared are gone too. So now it becomes a it's not a quadratic equation anymore, it becomes a linear equation. So linear equation, I can put x to be equals to 9, and this is the answer. Okay, that is question 2A. 2B, can you see that the right hand side is already a 0? So what I need is just factorize the left hand side and then use null factor law, and I'm going to solve for it. Okay, so I'm going to use the cross method to factorize. I put 3x and x, so 3x times x becomes 3x squared. 14, I put negative 2 and 7 here, so that negative 2 times 7 is negative 14. 3x times x is 3x squared. This is negative 2x, this times this is 21x, add together is 19x, which is my middle term. So I'm going to use 3x minus 2 times x minus 7, plus 7 equals to 0. This is plus, okay? So plus 7 equals to 0. So when these two factors product equals to 0, so either the first factor is a 0 or the second factor is a 0. So when the first factor is a 0, I get 2/3. When the second factor is a 0, I get negative 7. So my answers are x equals to 2/3 or x equals to negative 7. So are you getting the same answer? Okay, so please check. Question 3. In this question, although there's a fraction here, okay, but the method of using indices in fraction is exactly the same as integers. Okay, so what we do is we will just see 125 is related to 5. So 125 is 5 to the power 3. And then 64 is 4 to the power 3. So therefore 5 power 3 and 4 power 3, so together we can say it is 5 over 4 raised to power 3. And then it raises to another power. So we can multiply the powers together. So you are getting 5 over 4 raised to power 2. And so it is 25 over 16. Next one, 0.5 raised to power 2 plus 2 1/4 raised to power of negative half. Okay, so 0.5, I can say it is half. So half square. And then 2 1/4 is actually 9 over 4. And then raised to power of negative half. So here I have the answer 1/4. And what about this one? Okay, 9 over 4. It is 3 over 2 square. And then raised to another power. So I'm getting 2 raised to power of negative half. So when these two multiplied together, I'm getting 3 over 2 raised to power of negative 1. So raised to power negative 1, in order to remove the negative, I put it to be 2 over 3 raised to power 1. And so I'm getting 1/4 plus 2/3, and the answer is 11 over 12. Okay, change both to 12, 12, and then you denominator 12. Okay, question 4 is 4a is to factorize the expression. Okay, factorize the expression. You can straight away factorize, group 2 of them and 2 of them, and do factorization. These two terms, the common factor is x. So when x is brought out, you have 3a minus b. So if there's a 3a minus b as a factor, most likely this one also have 3a minus b. So what we do is we take negative y. Okay, we take negative y, and so we have 3a minus b. So you see, when y times 3a is negative 3ay, and then negative y times negative b is by. Okay, so both of them have 3a minus b as a common factor. So 3a minus b taken out, your x is the first term, your y, negative y is the second term. So this is the answer. Okay, you are asked only to factorize, so no solution. This is the answer already. Okay, next question also to factorize, and there is no solution. This is not solving equation now. Okay, so just factorize x with x, and then maybe negative 13 with negative 6, so that this one together will be 78 times together is x squared. So when you multiply negative 13 with x will be negative 13x, and this is negative 6x. Together that is negative 19x. Okay, sorry, I left out the letter x here. Okay, yeah, x here. So therefore, x minus 13 times x minus 6 is the answer. That's all. No further step. Okay, don't say that x is 13 or 6. This is not an equation, so it's just factorization, and we are done. Okay, 4b is to expand. Okay, in order to expand, we'll do it term by term. We will use the x times every term, then use a negative 2y times every term. So when x is multiplied to every term, I have x squared minus xy plus 3xz. Okay, then negative 2y multiplied to every term, I have negative 2xy plus 2y squared, and then minus 6yz. So there are 3 terms here and 2 terms here. So when I expand, I should have 6 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms. Okay, this is not the end yet, because we need to see whether there is any like terms or not. If there's a like term, then we have to combine. So x squared, there's only one term of x squared. There's only one term of y squared. But there are xy and xy here. Xz, only one term. Yz, only one term. So that means these two can simplify. Simplify to x squared minus 3xy. Then maybe plus 3xz. Then plus minus 6yz, and then plus 2y squared. That's all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. Okay, because you can't combine anymore. They are unlike terms. Unlike terms, you cannot combine. Okay, next one. We want to find a squared plus b squared from the a plus b is equals to 17. So if a plus b is 17, so a plus b squared will be 289. 17 times 17. Okay, so here, how do I make use of a plus b squared to solve my a squared plus b squared? So a squared plus b squared, as you know, when I have a plus b whole thing squared, will be a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. So if I only want a squared and b squared, so I can say that it is equals to a plus b whole thing squared. Take away the middle term, which is 2ab. Okay, so a plus b is 17, so 17 squared minus 2 times a times b. A times b is 60. So when you work this out, your answer should be 169. Okay, next, you know what is a plus b squared, but you don't know what is a minus b squared. So how is a minus b related to a plus b? Okay, you see that when you do expansion a minus b squared, it will be a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Do you see that these two terms are the same as the other one? Only thing different is this middle term. So can I say that I want to find a squared minus 2ab plus b squared? Isn't it equals to a plus b whole thing square? I take away 4ab. That's how I'm able to get the negative 2ab for the middle term. Okay, so this is 17 squared minus 4 times 60. And so my answer is 49. So this is answer, this is answer. Okay, so these two are my answers. So I have found the values of a squared plus b squared and a minus b whole thing squared from the fact that a plus b equals to 17 and a times b equals to 60. Okay, next question, 5a, simplify. Simplify, okay? To simplify, remember, don't just dump all the denominator together. Try and see whether there is anything in common or not. Okay, so we try and see, this is, if I take a 3 out, I'm going to get 4x squared minus 1. So 4x squared, I can put it to be 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. So for the first term, I can factorize it to be this term. Okay, for the second one, I have 3x as the common factor, so I have 2x minus 1. Can you see that both of them, I have these 2x minus 1 as a common factor. So now, the common factor, if I want to take the common one, so I'm going to get 3x and 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. Okay, so for the very first term, I multiply an x there. So I need to multiply x to the numerator. And for this term, I multiply a 2x plus 1. But because of the negative sign, so I have to put it as minus 2x plus 1 becomes minus 1. Okay, and so my answer is 2x minus 1 over 3x, 2x plus 1, and 2x minus 1. And these two, again, they are the same. I can divide both numerator and denominator by 2x minus 1. So I will have 1 here, and so therefore the answer will be 1 over 3x times 2x plus 1. So this is my final answer. Okay. Okay, I repeat, this term can be simplified to this. This term can be simplified to this. And then divide by this a minus b squared over a. Common denominator is a. So I times a here, so I have a squared minus b squared. Okay, so b plus a plus b, they are the same. So isn't it square? And then a times b. So I multiply this numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator. Then divide means times. Times what? The reciprocal. So a over a squared minus b squared, which can be factorized to be a plus b times a minus b. Okay, so now I have a plus b, two of them here. One of them is cancelled. Okay, one of them is cancelled with the denominator. So I have one left. And then there's a a here, and there's also a a here. So I divide both numerator, denominator by a. So I get 1 there. So now b plus a times 1 will be b plus a, or you prefer to write a plus b. Usually we write in alphabetical order. Okay, so this will be b times a minus b. So this is our answer. Okay, question 6. Question 6. We have two fractions multiplied together. Okay, so there are numbers, there are P, Q, and R. So we're going to do it in a very organized way. We first take out all the numbers. 15 times 4 divided by 8 times 5. Then we take out all the P's. Okay, so there's a P and there's a P in the numerator, a P in the denominator. Then go on to the Q. The Q, I have 2Q, another 1Q, so together there are 3 Q's. And then for R, I have 1 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator. Okay, we can see that P and P can cancel so that we get 1, 1. R and R we can divide also, so we get 1, 1 there. Okay, and then the number 4 and 8, I can divide both numerator and denominator by 4, so I'll get a 2 here. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And then this 5 and 15, I can also divide by 5. I'll get a 3 here. So therefore, in conclusion, I have a 3 in the numerator, a 2 at the denominator with a Q cube. So 3 over 2Q cube. Question B. A square of this one can contain 1, 2, 3, 4 terms here. So we're going to take square for every one of them. X square square, Y cube square, and then Z square over 4xy. So here I have 4x4, y6, z square divide by 4xy. So 4 and 4 I can simplify by dividing. So 1x here, 4 x's here, so I'm left with 3 x's after dividing. And 1y here and 6 y's up there, so I divide and then I get y5. Z, there isn't any at the denominator, there's only 1 in the numerator. So therefore, my answer is x cubed, y5, and z squared. Question 7a. 7 to the power of 0 is a 1. And the next part here, I'm combining this with this. So 7 power 6 divided by 7 power 5. And so this will be 7 to the power of 6 divided by 7 power 5. That will be 7 power of 6 minus 5, which is 1 minus 7. And 1 minus 7 is negative 6. Next, fraction, power also fraction. Don't worry about the fraction. The method is exactly the same as the law of indices. Okay, what I need to do is just change 8 and 27. 8 has something to do with 2, and 8 is 2 cubed. 27 is 3 cubed. So I can say this is 2 over 3 cubed. Okay, and then if we raise to another power of negative 1/3, so I'll have 2/3 raised to a power of negative 1. So in order to remove the negative 1 here, I can say it is 3 over 2. Okay, when I remove the negative, I take the reciprocal of the number. So the answer is 3 over 2. Okay, next question 8 is a graph question. You are given a graph and then you are asked to find out the coordinates of x and y, a and b. Coordinates of a and b. A and b are points on the x-axis. So when we have the equation of y equals to x plus 2 and x minus 4, so if we were to put the x plus 2 and x minus 4 to be 0, so we can say that, okay, coordinates of A is a smaller value, so we have negative 2 and 0. So the coordinates of A is negative 2, 0. Okay, for B, the value will be 4 and 0. So coordinates of B will be 4 and 0. And so how do we find the value, the y-intercept at C? So to find the y-intercept at C, the y-intercept is on the y-axis. And at the y-axis, x is equals to 0. So when I put x equals to 0, I'm going to get 2 times negative 4. So 2 times negative 4 is actually negative 8. So therefore, the coordinates of the y-intercept will be 0 and negative 8. Next question C. Given that the point D lies on the curve and D has coordinates, the x value is at 5. So at D, the x is equals to 5. So when x equals to 5, when we put the value of 5 into the equation, we have 5 plus 2 times 5 minus 4. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 times 1. So the answer is 7. So therefore, the value of P will be 5. The x is 5. The y is 7. So P will be 7. So the value of P is 7. The next one, we want to write down the equation of the line of symmetry. As you know, the quadratic curve is always symmetrical, and to find the line of symmetry, we will take the points on the x-axis and then find the midpoint of it. So A and B are points on the x-axis. Okay, so A and B, the midpoint of A and B. So A is the point negative 2, 0, and B is a point 4. So when I find the midpoint, so I'll add up the 2, divide by 2. So my answer is 1. Right, so this one, 0. So the midpoint of A and B will be 1, 0. Okay, 1, 0. So if I have 1, 0 is the point, so what is the equation of the line of symmetry? Line of symmetry is a vertical line. So it will have the equation of the form x equals to something. Okay, so in this case, the x is equals to 1. So the equation of the line of symmetry is x equals to 1. Question 9. On graph paper, this is the graph that you should obtain when you plot the points, and then the answers for part B, part C, part D. These are the answers. K is negative 3.6 plus minus 0.1, which means you can take anything from negative 3.5 to negative 3.7. Whereas for H is you can have values from 2.5 to 2.7. And the next one, you are supposed to show the relationship. And part D, solving equation. Okay, so this is the answer for question 9. Okay, question 10. The two straight lines are this. Okay, you're supposed to draw it on your graph paper. So the intersection point is at 2, 2. So therefore, the solution of x and y will be 2, 2. Because why? It is actually the solution. Okay, the solution of when this straight line represent every point has this condition, and then this one has the other condition. So if you want to find this point, so this point not only lie on this line, but it also lie on this line. So it satisfies both equation. And so this point of 2, 2 is the solution to this pair of simultaneous equation.